The New York Stem Cell Foundation is dedicated to accelerating stem cell research to cure the major diseases of our time.
We will lift the ban on federal funding for promising embryonic stem cell research. And we will aim for America to lead the world in the discoveries it one day may yield.
The New York Stem Cell Foundation has played a critical role by having a vision of what stem cell research can do for patients, by supporting the development of the field through support of fellowships for promising young investigators, by encouraging the scientists in New York to work closely together, by organizing meetings that bring New York scientists and scientists around the country and indeed around the world to come to New York to display their wares, and by providing an atmosphere in which stem cell research is encouraged.
I believe that the New York Stem Cell Foundation plays a catalytic role and is capable of moving quickly, flexibly, taking advantage of opportunities very quickly. It can zigzag in and out much faster than the NIH and do so more effectively.
The main strength of the New York Stem Cell Foundation is to really figure out what the problems are that are holding back the entire field.
One of the things I most appreciate about how NYSCF supports research is that they're willing to take risks on ideas for which there's no demonstrable reason that it should work, but if it did, there would be a high reward. Commonly say high risk, high reward research. That is not really what the National Institutes of Health or pharmaceutical companies in general do.
So I think what NYSCF brings to the table that perhaps the federal government or even the state government cannot is rapid access to funds to be used for very novel and exciting so-called cutting-edge efforts, and for convening scientists either locally or nationally or even internationally to work on projects that would be difficult to do under the auspices of NIH or state funding.
One of the most important advances in stem cell science in the last few years has been supported by NYSCF, and that's the work of Kevin Agan and colleagues, where they, for the first time, could show that by using stem cell biology and stem cell techniques, they could model a human disease, in this case, what's commonly called Lou Gehrig's disease or ALS. And so what Kevin and his colleagues showed is that they could watch a disease develop in a petri dish. It completely changes the way you study the disease.
Kevin despaired of finding funding for this work. NYSCF stepped in, decided that this was a worthwhile project, immediately put money to work, and we have what Time magazine called the breakthrough of the year. So this was a wonderful example, I like to call it, of the mouse that roared.
None of the work would have been possible without the New York Stem Cell Foundation. I just think that's absolutely clear.
You can now ask, so why do the ALS neurons die? And moreover, you can say, what can we do to stop it? So this is an enormously powerful tool for discovery of therapeutics for neurodegenerative diseases. And it can, in principle, be applied ALS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Huntington's, all of these, in principle, can be addressed in this way.
We were so impressed by that finding that we have done it ourselves for a different disease, a disease I most care about, type 1 diabetes. And again, with NYSCF support and our colleagues Robin Goland and Rudy Leibel at Columbia, we've now created stem cells from diabetic patients.
These are patients who have not made their own insulin for decades. And then in the dish, these fibroblasts, the skin cells, can be induced to become embryonic stem cells and then cells that look like and act like insulin-producing cells. This is an enormous accomplishment.
These are very important developments because they now permit us to study these diseases at a level and in a way which simply is not possible without the ability to create stem cells from individuals who have these diseases.
Because if we know the mechanism of the disease, that's not just the first step, that's a critical step in then trying to design a medicine to stop it from happening.
The New York Stem Cell Foundation Postdoctoral Fellowship Program is a competitive 3-year fellowship which provides support for the postdoctoral studies of young, innovative, outstanding scientists who want to enter into the field of stem cell research.
I'm using human embryonic stem cells to try find treatments for injured or diseased bone tissue.
To treat patients that have Alzheimer's disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, heart attack victims.
To understand how skin cancer develops.
To call these young investigators and the NYSCF program basically a farm team program for stem cell biology is a very good analogy. And in fact, that's what's happening. These are going to be, without question, the leaders in these fields.
My goal as a stem cell researcher is to find a therapeutic or cure for Parkinson's disease within my lifetime.
To vascularize tissue that's dead or dying in the heart.
To cure diabetes.
I don't have to wonder whether or not these young postdoctoral scientists that are in our program are going to be the future stars of the stem cell field, because many of them already are.
Without the support of the New York Stem Cell Foundation, this work could not be done. It's just unthinkable.
I was 48 years old. I had this intense pain, and within a half an hour I was paralyzed from the shoulders down. It was an occluded spinal artery which cut off the blood flow, and I still paint with the brushes strapped to my hands, and I spend my waking hours in a wheelchair.
Meryl's 6. She has had diabetes since she was 15 months old. She's just a regular kid, a normal, ebullient, very smart, very perfectly adjusted child who just happens to get her insulin from a pump rather than from her pancreas. It starts as a crisis and it starts as a real shock. We didn't know what it meant, we just knew she had diabetes.
My son Sam became diabetic when he was very young, an infant. Some years later, my daughter Emma also came down with type 1 diabetes. It's hard to describe the burden of monitoring an infant's blood sugar levels every few hours, waking up every night for a year and continually measuring blood sugar levels and injecting a baby with insulin. If one's never done an injection, it might be hard to fathom just how difficult it is, but you can imagine taking a little syringe needle and having to inject it into the thigh of your infant. It's not something you'd wish on anybody.
I support NYSCF because the New York Stem Cell Foundation helps support science in an area that holds enormous promise to help my patients and patients struggling with difficult and debilitating diseases that are very common.
The thing I like about the New York Stem Cell Foundation is it says we will only be successful when we develop new medicines and find cures for a disease. And that's why I'm glad to be part of it.
Our family supports NYSCF both because of the hope for a cure through stem cell research for my granddaughter Meryl, but also for broader societal reasons. And the thing about NYSCF is it's at the crossroads, it's the cornerstone of most of what's going to go on in stem cell research.
I think this is one area where the potential bang for the buck is probably greater than anything else I can think of.
The New York Stem Cell Foundation team recognizes that we're on the cutting edge and we're capable of great things. The advances that we have made on a limited budget in a short period of time are nothing short of phenomenal. And I think that all of us who collaborate and work together to advance this field recognize that we're on the verge of even further breakthroughs that will translate into medical advances.
At NYSCF, we're really proud of our accomplishments so far. But we're not done. In fact, we've just begun, and we're going to work tirelessly until we find those cures that we so desperately need for the people we love.